Hello, my name is Audrey Fisher, and today we're going to be going over the presentation Fast Fashion, the reality of cheap clothing and constant sale. So, to begin, what is fast fashion? Fast fashion is the mass production of cheap, poor quality, and disposable clothing that may last only a few washes, usually. So, when we look at the right, here are five different variations of fast fashion from five different brands, including Fashion Nova, Forever 21, Old Navy. The common thing between all of these is that it's extremely affordable. So if you just want to go out somewhere and you want a new shirt, it's just $10. So it's extremely desirable for its affordability, especially to groups who are economically disadvantaged for historical reasons as well, that we'll get into later. But if something looks nice now, for example, the textured cardigan, it might look nice now, but next year it might look kind of weird and out of style. So it's meant to be trendy as well. So this is the common themes of being trendy and being extremely affordable. And when we're going to talk about where are fast fashion clothes usually produced, they're usually produced in sweatshops. So a sweatshop is a facility where workers complete manual labor for extremely small wages and work extremely long hours under poor working conditions. Right, to help contextualize what's going on within sweatshops and what's going on in fast fashion. We're going to look at a few brands and what they're doing. Right, so Shein. Shein acts out slavery. They have 18-hour days where workers are paid 3 cents for every item made, which is a form of slavery and illegal in the US. And they have unsafe and illegal working conditions. From 21, human environmental neglect. Los Angeles sweatshop workers paid $3.42 an hour, as they also refused to ensure fire and building safety for Bengali workers, which we will get into more later, the significance of this as well. Old Navy abuse, workers regularly beaten child labor and 100 plus work hours for people, including pregnant people, in order to prove that they can still provide labor for the company. And Fashion Nova, human environmental neglect, $2.77 an hour to workers. I'm pretty sure this is in Los Angeles, and intense child labor as well. So we can see the different aspects of of humanity within the process of fast fashion. So when we want to bring this into the framework of sustainability, we like to focus on the three E's, which are equity, which kind of goes towards people. So equity, the environment, and economics. All right. So to begin with the equity component within fast fashion, we're going to be first talking about the significance of slavery within the process of fast fashion. So we have a lot of child labor and enslavement, for example, of the Uyghur ethnic group in China, who's currently experiencing genocide and enslavement. This is extremely significant because of the cultural significance in America and just kind of the world of how important Nike shoes are and the fact that they are produced by means of slavery, extremely important to highlight. I also want to highlight that in the process of the garment worker industry, it is not necessarily just sewing the clothing. It's a process where people are losing limbs because of the unsafe working conditions. People go missing and never hear from their loved ones again, and they don't know what happened to them because of the perverseness within fast fashion that um, so holistically includes slavery. And so at the top, we have some pleads for help. Our dental pain needs your help. Help me, please. Help me from various garment workers that were able to sew it into the fabric or leave messages within the packaging. Yes, so the prominence of slavery extremely unethical, obviously, extremely important to highlight. So we have unsafe working conditions. So in Dhaka, Bangladesh in 2013, there was the deadliest garment worker disaster, killing 1,127 people. What happened was there was generators at the top of the building that began to shake the building, and the garment workers went to the officials who were in charge, saying that they were kind of scared the building was shaking, right? And they were told, go back to work. Because this is a form of slavery, people do not have much say in what they do. Wage slavery is a form of slavery, so they did not necessarily have any choice in the matter. All right, so the building collapsed, again killing over 1,000 people. You can see some of their family members on the right who are still memorializing them for their great loss. And when we look at this situation and these unsafe working conditions, we want to ask ourselves again, why are these clothes so cheap? How can a t-shirt that has been picked from cotton, manufactured several times, and overprocessed, printed on and shipped from China to the US, how could that only equate to $10? And this is the result of unsafe working conditions companies refuse to ensure. The money that is meant to be part of that product was gained through maintaining unsafe working conditions. They did not pay for this building to be fixed, so your product was cheaper. So focusing on garment workers' rights, everyone in the fast fashion chain, enduring poor working conditions, slave wages, child labor, and more, are paying the cost not included in the price of cheap clothing paid in stores. This is greatly related to the women's rights movement, the feminist movement in general, as 84% of are women who are paid less than $4 a day across the entity of the garment workers labor. So when we look at these issues, they are not far away. This one is protesting for garment workers' rights in Los Angeles. Sometimes it's hard to understand or find a greater amount of empathy when you can't see the people. So when we look at all of these people, we know who they are, we know where they are around the world, even if we don't know. We can come to try to help them by making specific choices while we're acting in buying clothing. So what we can do personally is understanding our role in making thoughtful decisions. As I mentioned before, the clothing was extremely cheap and therefore relates to a lot of historical and socioeconomic disparities within America that do not allow people to afford possibly more sustainable options. So when put in these positions, what we can do is make the thoughtful decision. Do I need this product? Am I going to use this product? How long am I going to use this product? And do I need to buy it for somebody else as a gift? So if we're given the financial opportunity to make these better decisions, we can pay the price of a product in order to support the working conditions of these kind of work. All right, so when we're looking at the reality of goodwill and thrifting, only about 84%, no, about 84% of donated clothes end up in landfills because too many donations. For example, if there is a polyester and cotton blended shirt, this cannot be put in the recycling bin rather than the landfill because blended clothing cannot be recycled because it's now meshed together. So Goodwill resells only about 6% of total items. The rest is put in landfills or perversely sold in disadvantaged countries, which disrupts their economic system, unfortunately. There's the gentrification of resold clothing. As the demand for thrift went up with the current trendiness of thrifting, so did the price. So thrifting as an affordable opportunity for people within disadvantaged communities, it kind of made it more difficult to participate in thrifting for the sustainable aspects. So other forms that can help it elongate the lifetime of a product rather than sending it to Goodwill or thrift stores where it ultimately most likely will end up in the landfill is upcycling, which is, let's say, repairing the clothing or turning it into something else, maybe turning a shirt into a bag. Thrifting exchanges directly to people, exchanging clothing with your friends, supporting small, slow fashion businesses. For example, there's a lot of upcycling businesses on Instagram that you can buy from people and support their small business, especially if they're local to your community, and thrifting with mindfulness. All right, so now focusing on the second E, which is environment. We can look at the environmental degradation of the fast fashion industry. Example at the bottom, this is the Chilean desert. You can barely see it because it is completely covered with clothing. So it's not an out of sight, out of mind thing. It's going to be here for a long time. It does take a long time for these materials, especially most of them contain plastics. So they take a very long time, hundreds of years to break down. So disposing, we just talked about the Goodwill, they end up here. This is the landfill. Burning the materials, as you can see up here, can lead to several air quality problems because there are a lot of toxic materials when you burn things like the plastics within here, and the textile dyes and so on. This textile dyes in the manufacturing process can pollute and do pollute drinking water for several communities, um, which leads to issues with inequity as well as the environment as well, right? So as I previously mentioned, polyester blended clothing is plastic. So when we put those plastic clothing like this into the washing machines, as they wash the clothing, they break down the clothing a little bit each time, right? And so microplastics get into that laundry water and flow into where the storm drains of wherever your laundry goes to. So when they enter the ocean, they can even enter the food chain, the microplastics, and they have been seen to do that as well. So there's a huge environmental impact on air quality, water quality, and within the degradation of these deserts. So environmental health. So because of the textile industry and all of the pollutants that it takes to create these during the manufacturing stage, there's been smog displacement in China due to poor air quality. Textile pollution is responsible for 20% of clean water pollution. For example, those microplastics that I just talked to you about entering the food chain. There is a solution for this where there are some bags where you can put the clothing item in the bag, seal it, and then wash it, and those microplastics will be caught in the bag. Um, but ultimately, all of these environmental health issues disproportionately affect disadvantaged communities around the world, whether that be in America or China. Um, along each way that along the path of the clothing at each stage, the disadvantaged group is greater affected. So cotton materials, non-organic cotton. So that is the one at the top right. So farmers using, so non-organic cotton is typically used by fast fashion. Organic cotton costs a lot more and is in mostly sustainably made clothing. So non-organic cotton, usually farmers and prefers contracts with Monsanto. It's a monocrop, which means that the soil is losing its nutrients each time that they harvest. So to the point where eventually you won't be able to grow anything at all there, and we see a lot of environmental and ecology issues with that. Harvesters are poisoned from pesticides similar to DDT, which cause cancer, kidney failure, and other health issues. Perverse treatment of harvesters, again, means of slavery. Runoff that could cause eutrophication in dead zones, which is water pollution within the nearby waterways. But it's extremely cheap. So this is why the fast fashion would rather use non-organic cotton. So organic cotton is smaller and slower yields. So it's seen as less efficient and it's more expensive. However, they use polycultures within organic cotton, which allows the cycle of nutrients to stay within the ground and not be stripped. And it requires less water and energy use and decreases 94% of the greenhouse gas production created in non-organic cotton. So when we're talking about equity within this component, food insecurity is greatly tied into the issues within fast fashion. For example, if using non-organic cotton and eventually stripping the nutrients of the soil, in you typically disadvantaged areas around the world, in disadvantaged countries. Small scale farmers can now not use this land in order to produce food and must now go somewhere else because there's a cycle of needing to use land, stripping it, needing to use land, stripping it to the point where we're running out of land use and degrading the soil. So food insecurity is tied into this issue as well. Now we have the life cycle analysis. So the life cycle analysis of all of these products from their beginning, right at the material extraction stage. The companies are worrying about it from material extraction, transportation, material production, transportation, product production, transportation, all the way until consumption right here. And they don't really care what we do with it after, which is how it ends up in the landfill. Their goal is to get it into your hands and to sell it to you, right? So in order to get you to keep coming back, a lot of these clothings are made cheaply so that they won't last and that they're gonna rip and then you have to come get it, or they're gonna decrease in quality to the point where it looks a little dingy and then you go get another nice thing to make yourself feel better. So planned obsolescence. Clothing is often designed to only last a short time, so you have to go back and buy more. This is a linear life cycle all the way to disposal. The more sustainable approach is the circular life cycle, which is material extraction all the way until production, transportation, and product production. Now, when this is in its cycle of usage into consumption, it can either be used, reused, or recycled forever. And one way that this can be done is using organic cotton instead of blended materials. As I previously stated, you cannot recycle blended material because you can't unblend it. So a company creating a life cycle that's more circular is a more sustainable approach and upholds responsibility of the producer. So products with this option of a circular life cycle have less human and environmental impact altogether. Okay, now focusing on the last E, economics. All right, so now we have 80% off Black Friday, H&M sales on 80% off from this place and all of these shopping. It makes you feel better. We have people smiling in all of these pictures. They're happy they bought all of this stuff, especially in America. But with all of these economic issues and historical issues of disadvantaged communities, where people want to feel good despite the injustices thrown at them, right? Now, fast fashion is the affordable and possibly only way to achieve this experience of materialism that we have so ingrained into American society. So when we see wage slavery or starvation being pushed down on people, at the same time as being told, go buy this stuff is available for you and it's affordable, it's 80% off, right? So these situations in the long future and gaining economic equity, what is people's other choice but to participate in fast fashion? All right, so here's my personal pattern of buying fast fashion. I want to buy myself something nice, but I don't have that much money. So I'm gonna buy something inexpensive from Forever 21 and it's in style and it looks cool. I can probably take some pictures in it. But the item was poorly made and it stopped looking nice after like 5 washes. For example, my pants just ripped all the way down. Um, so now like my clothes look really old because they look all dingy and there's holes in them, right? So I'm gonna buy myself something nice so that I can feel better, right? But I can only afford inexpensive clothing. So it's like a cycle that gets you into participating in this a lot of the time because of its economic efficiency and planned obsolescence. Right? So consumerism is American culture. Um, how different is the latest iPhone than the one before it, right? So a lot of times within advertisements, within social media, within product placement, we're told or insinuated, you're nothing without the newest, the latest, the new phone, car, shoes, style, etc. The importance on what we have or what we um, design ourselves with, what we show ourselves can show how much you care about yourself to other people. And it can say a lot in how you dress yourself within our culture, right? Another example of consumerism within our culture is when 9/11 happened, Bush had to go out and shop, help boost the American economy. This will help with what happened during 9/11. We have the myth of retail therapy. We have ads constantly going on during our forms of entertainment while we're driving all the time. Um, and the cycle of economic movement because of consumer manipulation. So, in the process of talking about consumerism and all of the things that it trickles down through, which is the inequities between slavery or, um, the inequities all along the way within environments. It's not bad to treat yourself with these things. It's not inherently bad to want to feel good, obviously. And a lot of the times people do this by buying products. However, within the reality of what system you are put into, we see all of these disparities and means of slavery along the way and environmental inequality. In America, we have holidays for consumerism as well. There's secular Christmas, secular Hanukkah, and even Black Friday, especially designed for all of this. And we see 80% of Black Friday purchases are thrown away after 0 to 1 uses. So again, highlighting it's not just about buying yourself something to use. A lot of the times it's just to buy something to feel better, not necessarily to use that product you just bought to feel better. So when talking about affording ethical clothing, I don't know if you guys have heard of Patagonia. This is a sustainable clothing brand. The more Patagonia sells, um, the more Patagonia rejects consumerism, the more the brand sells, right? So affording ethical clothing. Unfortunately, fast fashion is many people's only option because of its low prices, right? The system of oppression and socioeconomic disparities allows corporate companies to operate in this way because accessible consumer choice is limited. People don't always have the option to pay $88 for a sweater or $90 when it's on sale for this sweater from Patagonia. So in this cycle of fast fashion, we need an oppressed people to create the product and impress people who rely and can only afford the cheap products that are being made. So the system of fast fashion and this system in general, it just relies on poverty, slavery, and materialism. All right, so quickly going over what greenwashing is. It's marketing a product as sustainable, eco-friendly, or green, so people want to buy without actually ensuring environmental ethics in the production process, the companies. So an example of this is H&M was selling a pair of jeans and said that it was a 100% recyclable. On the tag it said that. However, they were referencing the tag and not the product of the jeans. So in order to get people who are environmentally conscious or want to make a sustainable choice that's affordable, they marketed to them, misleading them that the product was recyclable. And it's so this takes place across a lot of things. For example, fair trade doesn't necessarily mean that much. A lot of these different labels. So just something to be aware of if you want to make something like that. So again, what can consumers do? So a lot of this information is quite depressing. Sometimes it's sad. Climate and environmental gloom is real, and many do not have the opportunity or luxury to buy more sustainable options. So make these decisions if you are able to. Understanding your role, create a consciousness to make decisions. So if right now, I want to buy an outfit, I want to go somewhere, and all I can afford is Forever 21. So I did Forever 21 to fast fashion, but I, in my mind, understand the realities behind what went into creating this product. So maybe next time, if I have a little bit more money, I can make sustainable choice from somewhere else, like Madewell, who ensures garment workers' rights along the means of production. Understanding at least how to have a consciousness of the decision that you're making, and maybe I can make a better one next time is important. This also goes into mindfulness. Do I really want this product? Again, 86% of clothing was worn 0 to 1 times on Black Friday. So do I really want this product? Will I wear it multiple times? So buying one maybe more expensive item you really want rather than several cheap items that may not last that long or more than a few washes. It might be better for you to keep on that thing that you like, to keep having it, but ethically or sustainably as well. Obviously, not everybody has the option, these choices, but if you have the option, gifting experiences, concerts, food, outings, services from local businesses and day trips, and trying to shop in small, slow, and local fashion. So trying to buy clothing from local small businesses, upcycled. I know two really great places in Los Angeles that work on Instagram are Shop Looks by Shu Taylor and Remade by Jade. She's down in San Diego, but works between Monterey Bay and San Diego. So those are two great options. So thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at ccudh@sustainability1@gmail.com. Thank you. If you have any questions, please send them there.